When he came clean about liking men, he had already braced himself for the friendship to be over. But what he never expected was that after hearing it, his friend simply took half a step back, froze for 2 seconds, then broke the half-eaten watermelon in his hands in two, and handed him one half. That same goofy look was still on his face. It was just an ordinary summer night, just half a piece of watermelon with teeth marks on it. And yet, for the next 10 plus years, whenever he thought of that person, he couldn't help but laugh. You might find it hard to imagine how such an ordinary country boy, with no special talent, no temper, and who couldn't even tell when people were just being polite, could become someone so many people would remember for the rest of their lives. The story begins in the spring of 1987. That year, 18-year-old Yanasuke dragged his heavy luggage from a small seaside town in Nagasaki and stepped into Tokyo for the very first time. The moment he arrived in this bustling metropolis, his eyes were filled with the curiosity of someone seeing the world for the first time. But hidden underneath that curiosity was a careful, almost timid sense of restraint. On the subway, a little boy kept staring straight at him. Yanasuke's first reaction wasn't to look away. Instead, he quietly lowered his head toward his collar and tried to smell whether he had sweat on him. He was afraid he might be bothering someone. That was Yanasuke, awkward and sensitive, yet gentle to the very core. He rented a tiny one-room apartment near the university. When he went out and ran into the woman next door, she casually said, "Would you like to come in and have something to eat?" Anyone else would have known it was just polite small talk, but Yanasuke took it completely seriously. He stood there at the doorway and actually lifted his foot, ready to walk inside. On the day of the entrance ceremony, the president stood on stage, giving a long, dull speech. Most of the students below were either still half dead from a hangover or nodding off in their seats. Only Yanasuke sat perfectly upright, listening with unusual seriousness, and it was there that he met his first friend at university, Ippei Kuramochi. The two were in the same boat. Both had applied to Waseda University as their first choice. Both had failed, and both had ended up at Hosei University instead. Ippei was still full of frustration. He kept saying he would retake the entrance exam next year, but Yanasuke didn't cling to it much. He believed in taking things as they came. To him, being able to study in Tokyo was already good enough. After the ceremony, everyone began filling out their elective course forms. A girl beside him named Yui Akutsu leaned over and asked him how it worked. Yanasuke looked up and saw that she had a sweet, pretty face, only her eyes looked a little strange. She had only just started learning how to do makeup, and her false eyelashes were stuck crookedly on her eyelids. It looked both ridiculous and kind of cute. Yanasuke struggled with himself for a long while. He wanted to remind her, but he was afraid of hurting her feelings. So in the end, he could only give her one clumsy little compliment. But that awkward compliment made Yui like him even more. Right then and there, she asked him to go check out the student clubs with her later. At the plaza, club booths were packed so tightly together that the two of them were completely overwhelmed. They wandered around, dazzled and unsure which club to choose. Then, as soon as they turned around, they ran right into Ippei. Ippei was much less tactful than Yanasuke. The moment he saw Yui, his eyes went straight to her crooked eyelashes. He even reached out, trying to pull them off for her. That instantly made Yui's eyes turn red with anger. She stood there, almost in tears, just as the three of them were trapped in an awkward silence so painful they could have dug a hole in the ground with their toes. Members of the samba club suddenly swarmed over. They pulled and persuaded the three of them, half dragging, half coaxing, until all three were brought into the club. And just like that, three people who had only just met somehow became teammates in the samba club. Although it wasn't a club Yanasuke had chosen for himself, once he started practicing, he worked harder than anyone. He put everything he had into every move. Even when sweat soaked through his clothes, he never once tried to slack off.